their trips. There is not only hunting, but also ritual, respect, and a sacred communion with the giant creatures of the ocean. From generation to generation, the Lamalera people still believe that whales are gifts from the sea. Not every trip is about hunting. They do not seek blood. They seek blessings. If the sea is wide and the whales choose to appear, it is a sign that the sea has accepted them, that the spirits of their ancestors are smiling every time a whale surfaces. The cry of "Balio, Balio" echoes throughout the village. It is a sacred cry, signaling that the sea has sent him a gift. The first man to see the whale will be the one to jump down with a roped harpoon, Lamalera, straight into the giant beast rising in the white columns of water. There are no machines, no engines, just wind, oars, and faith. They jump onto the whale's back, their hands gripping the harpoon as if holding their own fate, their feet kicking against the skin as smooth as wet stone, feeling the breath from the lungs of a creature weighing tens of tons. The fight between man and sea, between flesh and salt water, takes place in the whistling wind and the smell of blood mixed with salt. But in the eyes of the Lamalera, there is no brutality, only gratitude and sacred fear. The whale is the god. Every part of the whale's body is divided equally according to ancient rules. Meat. Bones, fat, teeth, and even the soul. No one is greedy. The rower, the jumper, the rope thrower, all have their share, not according to their efforts but according to their traditional roles, established by their ancestors. When the whale is pulled ashore, the oldest person in the village will hold a ceremony, pray to the sea god, thank him for the ocean's gift. Then the whole village will cut the meat together, divide it into equal pieces, dry it, and store it to survive the months without fish or rain. The village of Lamalera is located between steep cliffs, where the waves beat against the shore like an endless drumbeat. There are no fields, no land to grow crops. The sea is the field, the fish is the rice, and in that world, the whale is the golden rice of the gods. They live on the whale, but they never kill it for fun, for profit. Every hunt is a ritual, every whale a soul sent off with song. The Lamalera have a strange belief that the whale understands them, that the first whale of the season is the whale god, Kotiklima. The spirit of the ancestors return to bless. So when they kill it, they do not cheer, but bow their heads, their tears mingling with the sea. Lamalera afternoon. The wind blows from the ocean, carrying the smell of salt and the calls of thousands of invisible creatures. In the thatched house, the old man tells the children stories of the time when the sea spoke, when whales and humans once understood each other in a language without words. Once upon a time, he says, we were one. Humans and whales shared the same breath of the sea. Then humans forgot, and began to think they were masters. But Lamalera did not. Here, we still hear the sea calling. The children were silent, their eyes shining like drops of water. Outside, the sea was darkening, reflecting the early stars. One night, when the south monsoon blew, the sea changed color. The water rose as if breathing. And in the distance, a giant black shadow rose, its back arched like a hill. its tail lashing down, sending a column of white water higher than the roof of the village. People ran out, shouting, "Balio, Balio!" The wooden boats, peladang, were pulled into the water. Ropes tightened, spears flashing in the moonlight. The whole village seemed to join in the rhythm, people, sea, and spirit. The whale dived, its shadow disappearing in the deep water. But the Lamalera were not afraid. They knew the sea was testing their courage. Each boat bobbed, waiting for the moment when the whale would rise again. Then a loud sigh, puff, like the sound of the earth itself. People jumped out, flew through the air, and drove their spears into the whale's body. Red blood spread out, mixing with the blue water. But no one screamed. Everyone was silent. It was a moment of sacrifice and acceptance. They pulled the whale back in a desperate effort. The ropes scraped against their hands, tearing their skin. Human blood mixed with the fish blood. The boat rocked, the waves pounding as if they wanted to swallow everything. But then, as the sun rose, the silhouette of the giant fish appeared, still, motionless, like a floating mountain. Everyone knew the sea god had allowed him to live another year. When they reached the shore, the oldest man stepped down first, holding a burnt coconut branch in his hand. He bowed to the whale and prayed, "O spirit of the sea, please forgive us. We only take what is necessary to survive. We will tell your story to our children, so that the sea will never forget." The smoke rose like a prayer. The whale meat was divided, each piece cut with a traditional stone knife. No one was allowed to eat until the ceremony was over. Children laughed, the elders cried, the men silently looked out to sea. They knew that, after each time the sea gave, the spirit had to leave. But that was the balance. The sea gave, the sea took, and the sea taught people to be grateful. When night fell again, the Lamalera lit a fire on the shore. The torches illuminated the silhouette of the giant whale, its body petrified, like a part of the village. The song began, an ancient song known only to them, called Tena Balio, a song that sends the whale's soul back to the deep sea. There was apology, gratitude, and pride in the song. A little boy sat beside his mother, looking out to sea. "Mommy, will the whale come back?" he asked. His mother smiled. "Yes, my child, the whale is a friend of the sea. When we live well, when we are grateful to the sea, the whale will come back." Then she whispered softly, "Maybe, one day, you will be the first to jump." Far out at sea, the sea was still singing, a song as slow, deep, and deep as the heartbeat of the earth. Perhaps the whale was listening, or perhaps it was the whale itself. Beneath the dark waters, the sounds travel thousands of miles, through time and memory, carrying ancient stories, of Lamalera, of people and the sea, of life and death, and of respect that people have almost forgotten in the modern world. The Lamalera Sea is never quiet. Day or night, the waves speak, the wind tells, as if the universe cannot bear the silence. The sound of the waves, to the Lamalera, is more than just a sound, it is a memory. Each crash against the rocks is a reminder that the ancestors are still there. In the sea, along with the dead whales, along with those who fell on hunting trips and never returned. Village wakes early, when the sky is still gray. The smell of dried fish. Smoke and salt blends into the flavor of life. Women carry fish out to dry. Children run barefoot on the sand and black pebbles. In the distance, men mend nets, fix oars, prepare for the new hunting season. They are only allowed to hunt for a few months each year, from May to October, when the south wind blows. When whales pass near the island. One afternoon, when the sun was red as blood, he saw a humpback whale rise not far from the shore. It was spouting water, its body reflecting the light like metal. He stood still, and in that moment, he heard a long, singing sound, echoing from deep within the sea. Nado didn't know if it was real or imagined, but it made him cry. "Daddy," he said as he ran back. "The whale sings." Luan looked at his son and nodded slowly. "Yes, the whale sings because it remembers." Fat hung on poles. The smell of whales permeated the air, the hair, the clothes, the breath of the village, the sound of knives touching bones, the voices of people calling to each other, the sound of waves, harmonized into a strange music, both brutal and sacred. A man took a rib as big as a door and set it up in front of his house. He prayed, "You have protected us. From now on, your bones will protect my children and grandchildren from the sun and wind." And indeed, in Lamalera, many houses were built from whale bones. The door frames, the beams, even the tables and chairs, were all from their bodies. In all their belongings, the sea was present. When the work was finished, the sun was almost gone. The whale was now just a white skeleton spread out on the sand. But no one left. They sat there, looking at the sea, silent. A song began, Tenabalio, the oldest song of the Lamalera. The voice was deep, resonant, sad and breathtakingly beautiful. The sun slowly rose above the hazy horizon of the Pacific Ocean, the first light of the day sparkling on the white-capped waves. In the middle of the vast ocean, a Japanese tuna fishing boat cut through the waves, leaving behind a white water trail like a silk strip across the sea. The men on deck had been up since before dawn, their faces tanned, their eyes shining with a mixture of calm and determination. For them, the sea was not only a place to make a living, but also a friend, a teacher, sometimes a harsh challenge, but always worthy of respect. Japanese tuna fishing boats were not small boats swaying along the shore. They were equipped with modern facilities like floating fortresses, fish school locating radar systems, satellite navigation equipment, sonar detectors, even deep freeze rooms below deck to keep the fish fresh as soon as they were pulled up. However, amidst all that technology, the spirit of the Japanese fisherman remains: meticulousness, discipline and extraordinary perseverance. When the clock struck 4 in the morning, the captain signaled the crew to prepare the bait. Each person had a task, As agile as a pre-programmed machine. They wound the line, checked the hook, and dropped each line hundreds of meters long into the sea. Tuna fishing requires near absolute precision. If the bait falls at the wrong depth, the fish will not bother. Just a small mistake in preservation can cause a catch worth hundreds of millions of yen to lose its value. Because tuna, especially bluefin tuna, is not only a food source, but also a national pride of Japan, a symbol of the culinary quintessence of sushi. In the quiet space of the ocean, each sound of machinery blends with the sound of waves to create a strange melody, bustling yet lonely. On deck, Takashi, a veteran fisherman with over 30 years of experience, looked out at the horizon, where the seagulls were flying. "We read the sea like a book," he said, his voice deep. "Look at the birds, smell the wind, watch the direction of the water flow, and you'll know where the fish are." The way he spoke made people understand that, no matter how modern the radar or equipment, intuition and experience are still irreplaceable in the fishing industry. Today, today's weather was relatively favorable. The south wind was light. The waves were just enough for the ship to move steadily. After a few hours of fishing, the sonar needle on the screen started to dance, a signal of a school of fish moving near the area. Everyone immediately got into position. The atmosphere on the ship was tense. Everyone held their breath. When the first line was stretched, the whole deck was filled with cheers. A giant tuna had just been hooked. Its silver body was shining. Struggling violently, two people held the line tightly. Another person used an iron hook to stab its tail to control it. The water splashed and sparkled in the rising sun. Pulling up a tuna weighing more than 100 kilos was no easy task. Each of its struggles could send a weak-armed person flying off the deck. But Takashi and his crew were used to it. Once the fish was pulled up, they quickly cooled its body with ice water, then punctured its spinal cord to prevent the acid from spreading and spoiling its flesh. It was all done in minutes, precise, quick, like a sacred ritual practiced for hundreds of years. "Tuna is not just a dish," Takashi said, wiping away sweat. "It is also a source of pride. The Japanese eat sushi, but before sushi, there were seafarers like us." The words made anyone who heard them feel something profound, that tuna fishing in Japan was not simply a profession. But a part of national culture, a symbol of the samurai spirit on the waves. After the first batch of fish was put into the cold compartment, the ship continued to move south, where the warm Kuroshio current meets the cold Oyashio current, creating nutrient-rich waters, a tuna paradise. It was here that for thousands of years, the people of Misaki, Oma or Kesenuma regions have clung to the sea, passing on their profession through many generations. There are families, grandfathers, fathers, sons, all are tuna fishermen, at the ports. When the ship returns, the wife and mother stand waiting, while the children run around, counting the fish their father brings back as if counting their joy. At noon at sea, the sun is high, the air is hot but still has the salty taste of the ocean breeze. On the ship, the simple meal consists of only rice balls, miso soup and a few slices of dried fish. But everyone eats deliciously, because they know that to have a full meal for the whole country, they have to sacrifice the normal comforts that people on the mainland have. In the middle of the ocean, winds and waves can change direction in a matter of hours, and a small storm can rock a ship like a leaf. But they set sail anyway, because without them, there would be no fresh sashimi on Tokyo dinner tables, no cheers at the famous tuna auctions at Toyosu Market,